first month of coaching can feel a little bit like trying a new recipe out from scratch. You're a pretty accomplished cook. You made plenty of meals, so you think you know what to expect. You can even anticipate what the final dish is going to taste like. Once you get started, you realize you don't have half the ingredients, so now you're on the way to the store. You get back only to realize that there's all this chopping and prep work you didn't anticipate, and suddenly your kitchen's a mess and you're standing there wishing you just had a bowl of cereal for dinner. Today, I'm going to walk you through those first few sessions of coaching so you can maximize your investment and not fall prey to the kind of mistakes that I made. And stick around till the end. I'm going to share one simple preparation tip that completely changed how I approached my coaching session and helped me experience breakthroughs even faster. So, week one was a bit of a reality check for me. I came to my first coaching session excited about my YouTube channel that I wanted to start at age 52, knowing this was a big transition. But I'd been in therapy for years, so I had a feeling I had all that other stuff figured out. Within 30 minutes, though, we decided that my YouTube hesitation wasn't about my technical skills or lack thereof, but was rather about my old friend perfectionism. Now, when I say perfectionism, I'm not talking about the I want everything neat and tidy variety, but the type that keeps you from starting new things or having self doubt and not moving forward with goals that you've had. And it's okay if you show up to your first session and you don't even have a clear goal because your coach is probably going to start asking you questions that might feel a little sideways. Those could look like, what does success mean to you? When's the last time you tried something new? What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? In your case, you might find that you have a fear of an imposter syndrome or looking like you're a selfish person. What's different from therapy is that you're not going to spend a lot of time with your coach wondering why you have that tendency. In my case, being a perfectionist. Rather, you're going to figure this is where I start. How do I want to show up for myself now? What can I do, even though you're a perfectionist, and start making videos? So, coaching is always going to be about moving forward and not excavating your past. So, at the end of our session, the coach and I kind of drew up some homework that I would try to do that week. And it seemed deceptively simple, but it was to look out for the words I should, because I realized that was a pattern of mine that was keeping me kind of stuck. Whether you uncover a specific block or you just want to clarify what you want in that first session, homework may feel a little bit too simple, but do take it seriously and suggest homework if your coach doesn't bring that up. Homework can be really helpful to keep those kind of coaching insights in your mind as you go throughout the week. When I got to week two, I'll be honest, I felt a bit bummed. I was pretty surprised by how often I found that my self talk was pretty negative. I mean, I'd been in therapy for years, so I felt like I'd already uncovered all this stuff. So I was a little frustrated to find how often I was caught up in those old patterns. And for you, it might be something like realizing that you always need external validation or that you fall into, procrastination. I could see how often I could beat myself up for, say, not wanting to work on my YouTube channel at 7 o'clock at night after a full day of work. And that's when my shoulds would get really strong. Whether you're aware of these patterns or you're seeing the first time, it can be kind of a humbling experience. But take note, your coach will help you through this. And I realized that the noticing was actually a step forward, not backwards. Rather, I was now trading a flashlight for floodlights to really hone in on those thoughts and see if I could catch them in the moment. And the coach is not going to be surprised by any of this. In fact, they're going to be coming up with ways to help you moving forward. And for me, this looked like building up on the homework that I'd done in the first week, where I was looking for shoulds and try replacing those with coulds. So I could work on my video tonight for 20 minutes rather than I should definitely work on my video tonight. It just has a different feeling. And when I caught myself using the word should, rather than continuing to give myself a hard time about that, I wanted to use my humor and a sense of compassion to address it. So, in a friendly, oh, Erin, look, there you go again. Now, your homework will probably be tailored to whatever's coming up for you. And if there isn't anything coming up, don't worry, it will. So, week three for me is where things got real and pretty uncomfortable. Sure, I was noticing my patterns all the time, but I just couldn't seem to flip the switch. I was still saying I should like 20 times a day, and I felt frustrated. But my coach helped me see that the noticing and the getting frustrated was actually success because I was catching it. Noticing in the moment without judgment is progress. And once I kind of understood that, I realized that I was moving ahead. And that's what makes coaching feel different to me than therapy, in that you're rewiring in real time and you're learning those skills as you're also carrying forward. I know that this week was particularly tough. I look back at my notes and I'm wondering if I'd made a mistake with coaching, but I do feel like this was the lynch point of carrying on. So for me, the work became looking at my limiting beliefs and really starting to question them. And so, for instance, I would schedule to film on a Saturday, and I would think to myself, I should really feel like doing this. I know the message I want to tell people feels important to me. So, why am I not more motivated? And the message behind there is I should feel motivated when I've scheduled myself to film. And so I started looking at the belief and thinking, or could I not feel motivated and still film? And that turned out to be the case. You might be instructed by your coach to start looking at being your own internal cheerleader when you're not getting that external validation, or challenging some all or nothing thinking. I'm going to tell you right now that some days are going to be harder than others, but the discomfort actually means that you are changing and you're not just talking about it. So, week 4 felt a little bit like a breakthrough, and this is where the magic happened. And it wasn't what I expected. I didn't suddenly become a YouTube queen who loved everything about her channel and being behind the camera. But what I did learn is that I could be scared and I could act anyway. I didn't have to be ready. And my coach even helped me realize what ready meant. For me, it meant avoiding a 3-day procrastination spiral, and that felt like real progress. By week 4, it really felt like I had tools rather than just the awareness. At this point, I could catch the negative thought, I could acknowledge it with compassion without a lot of drama. I could decide if I needed to reframe it, and I could carry forward nonetheless. And the biggest surprise is that, of course, YouTube wasn't the real win. Rather, I was able to see that I could do hard things even when I was scared or not feeling confident or unmotivated. And of course, this is a skill that's transferable outside of making videos. For others, it might be having a difficult conversation or booking a doctor's appointment that you've been avoiding. Any of those things can feel like a bit of a win. And I can't promise that by week 4 that you'll have the same experience, but what I can say is that it's worth keeping moving forward. It's worth keeping up with that homework, trying out those things and answering those questions, because I do feel like after a few weeks of the hard stuff, you will hopefully have some alchemy where something amazing will happen. So, you've heard what those first 4 weeks might look like. And let me share the biggest difference and the small prep that I took that really started to change those sessions from a weekly conversation to continue with growth process. So during my sessions, I would note down any insights I had and something the coach said or a pattern we might have identified. And then I would leave my coaching notes alone for a while. And then the next day, within 24 hours, I would have another look and I might tease out one sentence or two that I wanted to kind of keep in mind during the week while I was doing my self coaching. And that might be a thought, it might be an idea, whatever that might be. Each day, I would kind of reiterate that thought and look at that. And also, I would take note of anything that came up during the week where I'd had a success with one of my patterns or something else that I thought might be worth coaching on. I just made sure I wrote it down. I definitely don't expect to rely on my memory at this age. And so then the day before, or maybe the morning of my coaching, I would spend a few minutes going through my notes and I would construct sort of a simple agenda, nothing rigid, but intentional, so that when I met with my coach, I already had somewhat of an outline of what I wanted to talk about. And I found that in this way, the coach noticed that I came prepared and I would get a lot more value out of that time investment because I knew exactly what I wanted to cover and left also room for any discovery we might find during that session. Now, if you're wondering where I keep these notes during the week or where I make those, let me introduce you to one of the most simple self coaching tools that I have found. And if you're interested in how I use a journal and a simple notebook in my self coaching, be sure to check out next week's video. It'll be here, or is it here? I'm not sure when it's ready. Thanks.